All right, so let's go ahead and take this. We're taking something off the trailer. We'll show you what we found inside. Pretty cool stuff in there, and then we'll show you what we ended up with when we got it all off, to get everything out of it, and look at the rust, how bad it is, and it's pretty bad. So stay tuned and take a look at all of it. And all right, guys, let's take a look and see what's inside the bus here. Gonna kind of clean this out real quick. I'm waiting for Chris to get here. We're gonna unload it. And while I was doing that, I found some keys. I don't know what they're for yet. I'll check these out in a little bit. I don't know. They might. I bet you anything one of them fits. Something. Maybe the doors, maybe the ignition. That'd be really cool. And then the guy was kind enough, while I was gone, to put this in the van. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't think I have one of these. I've had a transporter for years, and I never had a manual for specifically for a transporter. But that's gonna be kind of handy, huh? What do you guys think? You know, you don't see them very often anymore, so it's got a wiring diagram in it. And that's a little beat up, but it's great for reference. So I'll put that aside. And then I saw this in here. So, you know, I was always wondering what the history of this thing was. So let's see where it was from. How you guys are looking at it with me. I've never seen any of this stuff, so I don't know who. I guess this is the old title. Wow. West Virginia. That's where it was from. That explains the rust. I thought it might have been Washington. West Virginia, right? WV. Yep. It's the old owner. And it's, I do have a new title for it. So this is just an old title. I don't know. Maybe, I don't remember the guy's name. I have the title for it though. It's actually California titled now. And there's some receipts in here. I wonder what they have. Looks like. I mean, somebody drove this car probably and just, I think it just sat. So, what do you have here? Wow. How much? Oh, $49.50. I was going to say 49. You know, I thought it was $49.50, like $4,950. I was like, wow, somebody's spent a lot of money. Looks like brakes got done. Rear brake shoes and bleed. Maybe they're okay. No, I don't think so. Then some other receipts. Let's see. This was in West Virginia. Yeah. So this came from West Virginia. He must have had it shipped out. And then I think probably what happened, I mean, he probably bought it and then got it home and realized that it was a lot more work than he thought. Then just, it was kind of on the chopping block because he's moving. And he just decided to, probably had to strip some of the parts off of it to get the, you know, a decent amount of money out of it. So he wasn't losing too bad. And I don't know what all this stuff is. Some gaskets. It looks like probably, I would say that's probably like valve, you know, valve adjustment or something like that. Let's look here. Just wonder why it actually stopped being driven. You know, that's always, the story is always the most interesting thing. So this stuff is pretty cool to me to have, you know, for a car that you buy, an old classic. Bring me back to you guys in a second. So, adjust points. But at some point the engine was taken out of it, so I don't see a receipt for that. So who knows? Maybe, you know, I'm figuring that that's probably why it stopped getting driven. something catastrophic happened to the engine, and then a lot of the rust was, you know, not too bad, but just enough to where it just sat once it was opened up, you know, from the couple salty winters. It was probably opened up enough to where it just, the moisture in the air probably rusted it out, or it was sitting in the grass or something like that from the looks of it. And so again, looks like oil change, $4.50. Oh, what a deal. When was that? 1971. Wow. I think this thing sat for a long time. Let's look at the date on some of these things. Let me go back here a second. Yeah, this one's dated 1988. I bet you that's probably how long it's been sitting. I don't know, can you read his writing? Looks like 68, but I think it's 88. He did P&O too, so he just did a title change and plan non-operation. So it was in his name already. So that's good to know. But I already have the, like I said, I have the title and everything. Yeah, this one says 87. Let's see what the next one is. It's the only last one I got. So, look here. 87. So I'm going to say this thing stopped being driven in about 88. So it's been sitting for a while. And probably the rust that was on it was like from some salty roads and stuff like that back then. And then it just sat. I don't think it was like driven a lot in the winter, because it would be a lot worse than that if it was in West Virginia in the winter all the time. So it was probably just like a camper. They used it like in the summers, and you know, maybe it got driven once or twice in the winter, and then that salt kind of did its job and then sat, or it sat in the grass, one of those two, you know, somewhere where it was just getting, you know, constant moisture touching the bottom of the van. So that's probably how a lot of this stuff happened. So interesting to know. Let's take it apart and take a look at the rest of it. So the mileage, here's the mileage on it right now. It's at 19,502, and I think it's got 119,000 on it. So that's, you know, again, that's probably why it's so clean. And check this out. So here's how we kind of figured this out. So we got here, this is in 1971. Here's the mileage, 47,000 miles. So between 67 and 71, they drove this thing 47,000 miles. They drove the living crap out of it. Here we go. 1988. Was that 18? What was it? Their mileage was only 15.
It's 188,000.
88 or 88,000.
I've seen the other one that says 188,000.
I don't know how they, maybe that's 15. I think that's 15. 15, 563. Look at the original mileage again. Yeah, on this, so I think we see here like some of the receipts were in Colorado. So maybe they lived in Colorado, maybe it was from California, and they moved to West Virginia at some point. So like this was titled in 88 there. And then so with the odometer reading, they said 170. So maybe it is 215,000 miles on it. But we see how many miles they drove in a year. I mean, they're driving 30,000 miles a year a lot of times, so they use this thing probably a lot, you know. It's kind of interesting. So, oh, that's a registration, but it doesn't show the mileage on it, does it? No, I don't think so. So probably the records show that we looked at, one of them was in, where was that one in Colorado?
This is in Pennsylvania.
That was in Pennsylvania. So they traveled in this thing. They probably, you know, it's probably some older couple, you know, who drove this thing and traveled in it. You know, that was kind of common back in that era to use one of these things to like as a motorhome, basically. Where was the Colorado one? I'm looking for that. Yeah, right here they were in Greenlee, Colorado. Kind of interesting. And that was in what? Was that 1967? No, that's the year built, maybe 71. So maybe you never know. Maybe they bought it in Colorado and then moved a few times. It looks like the same owner, maybe. Not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this was a different owner.
McKinney, there's
Customer, this is McKinney. And then this one is Polinsky.
Polinsky, yeah, I got Polinsky, and we have,
and then it became Polinsky after that. So
we got Lonergan.
They probably bought it somewhere in the west, and somehow it ended up back east. So it wasn't back there its whole time. I doubt it. Really interesting. Some of the stuff I like to show because I know it's interesting to me, so I know it's going to be interesting to you guys, especially when you see what we're doing with it. All right, so kind of what I expected when I looked at it. I mean, I know, you know, from doing, I've done several buses. I mean, I don't know how many, 7 or 8, 9, 10, I don't know. And just from looking at them, I mean, I look at them online and I can see how bad it is. And this guy didn't have that many photos, but I thought, well, it's local, so it's not a big deal. But I knew that the floor was going to be like this. This whole floor has to come out. There's no way that's going to work. But the great thing is everything above, you know, the support rails here is pretty good. So that's, you know, you get them with a lot of times where the bottoms are rotten And then there's random stuff all over the place top that's really rotten too. So I've already got the door stuff coming here. The issues, these are kind of a tough fix in here. It's all I do is I just cut this off, and then I'll put another piece in there, and then just put a little filler on there, make it look nice. It looks good when I'm done. You know, some of the critics will be like, oh my god, you gotta replace that whole section, you know, and replace the door, you know. Come on, you can't look at it that way. If you look at it that way, you're gonna spend, you know, 20 grand on parts. So but you can buy those cargo doors if you wanted to do that. You know, I don't know what the reproductions are like. They're not that expensive really, but it might even be the way to go, really. I mean, by the time I add up all the stuff I'm going to do to them. But back here, this is, of course, the issue. One thing, I don't know where you can get this metal. I'll end up probably just making that piece. All it is there's one little thing like this here. And I think I have some of that metal with this edge on it. Yeah, and we'll just take a little piece and then piece in that one. We'll kind of Frankenstein that together. So it'll be, you know, pieces, but I'll just weld it all together, make it look good. This looks pretty solid. I was worried about this. I don't know until I get a wire brush on what I'm going to do is, a lot of people would take, at this point, they'll sandblast the whole thing. Two things, unless you have a place to put it inside after it's sandblasted, not a good idea. And even at that, you got to get primer on that thing right away. And a lot of times the sandblasting will take off, you know, if you'll take off material off of places you don't want it to come off of, because, you know, the sand will kind of bounce into the corners, and you can only spray the surface, you know, spray paint the surface again. So you're going to have areas where you can't really get your spray gun, you know, not the way I usually do it. It's not that it can't be done that way. It can. It just, you got to be thinking, you know, if you're going to do this DIY, you need to think a lot more than that. So using the rust reformer and stuff like that I use to actually convert the rust to a non-rusting material is actually a really good way for you guys at home trying to do it. So that's how I do it. I could do it the sandblasting way. I've done stuff like that before, but you know, the budgets get way up there, so keep that in mind. Look how bad the front floor is. Yeah, I knew it was going to be the whole floor. He's like, oh no, it's only had the outer edges. And I'm like, nah, it's the whole floor. And so it is. So, and when I do that, I'm going to order the whole floor. But you guys, I've seen like CT cut this out. And I was like, no. I was trying to yell through the video. You cut right here and then you butt your new piece up. Because almost every time this around this area is good. And you can use the existing metal and just butt your new piece in and not take out that tube, because taking that tube out is a nightmare. You'll never get that thing back in there right. So dog legs, you know, I'm on the fence on those. They're $265, $180 last time I bought one. Now they're $265 or something like that. You know, if you go crazy on this stuff and you start buying all the metal, a lot of the stuff I'm going to make. So you'll see how to make some of the stuff yourselves. Because if I bought it all, I'd be looking at another $2 grand in addition to what I have to buy already, just to buy all the pre-made stuff, like the corners in the back. These, like this thing, I'll probably make these bottom sections here. I don't know. I won't know till I get that off. It looks like there's Bondo on there. So, again, this dog leg here is really bad. I've made them. I've made the whole dog leg before. But this is bad here. It's got holes there. It's got holes here. It's got holes down there. It's got that end. I might have to buy that one. It's just so bad. It's just, the time it's going to take me is just going to be a lot. I mean, $260 some odd, unless I can find one at one of the swap meets or something. Who knows? This whole thing is going to have to go. The whole cargo floor is coming out. These corners are really expensive, so I won't be buying those. You just use straight metal and then bend and pie cut. I'll show you guys how to do those later. All this stuff will be in separate videos. You know, this thing's, it's rough. I mean, the back of this thing is bad. The underneath here, it's coming through like there. This is already pitted. You know, you can see the, so this is really hard to weld. When you weld on this, it just warps like hell. Even if you cold weld it, it's pretty hard to fix. So I don't know, I might be using see how it is inside. Maybe I'll use panel adhesive. A lot of guys are not gonna like that, but you know what, it does a great repair. It's very strong. It's actually stronger than welding. In certain circumstances, it's a great repair way to do stuff. You have to open your mind up. If you're gonna do this kind of thing, you gotta open your mind up. You cannot just go, I'm gonna weld from this seam to that seam. No, don't do that. It'll mess you up. It'll make you, that'll drive you nuts. If people that do that, that's good. I mean, there's like the guys, the big metal guys, you know, they charge $100 grand, 60, 70, 80 grand to do one of these, and you know, they earn their money, but you guys that don't have that kind of money, you're gonna watch this video series and you're gonna learn some stuff, how to do it and make it work, and make stuff that works, that is right, that will last and still look good. That's the whole thing. Is it going to last? Is it going to look good? Yeah. Is it going to be welded to every seam? No, I will not do that. And people say, oh my God, that's the wrong way. It's not the wrong way. It's a repair. So keep an eye out for the rest of this video series. These things here are rotten. Look at that. I already got one of those coming. What I do is I'll take one of these and I'll cut it in pieces, and I'll save the ends of these if I can, because these suckers are like 85 bucks a piece. Like I said, if you just buy everything you think is bad and you replace the whole piece from end to end, you're going to go into such a high budget that you're going to end up getting rid of the car before it's done. That's what most people do here. And maybe in a little bit of junkyard because of that. That's terrible. It's the worst thing. So want to save the cars, you got to do some stuff to make them work, and that's what I'm going to do. And this one, yeah, it's bad, but anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next portion, and enjoy that. Take a look at that rust, man. It's bad, but it's normal. This is, I'd say 9 out of 10 of these are like this. The ones I get are, I very rarely see one that's not as bad as this. Sometimes they're a lot worse. And when they're worse is when you have rust in the roof, because it just goes down the walls and ends up everywhere, and then you got random rust stuff everywhere up high and, down low. It's just a mess. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next portion. Enjoy this there, and I'll check you guys on the next one.